Awesome.
Today I am introducing Jeremy. He is working on his Competent Communication series, working on Project 2, which is Organize Your Speech. In this speech, some of his goals are some of what you would see in the actual manual itself, which would be number 1, creating a appropriate opening and closing, making sure that it is strong, as well as having a appropriate outline that is easy to follow and understand, having clear transitions and a clear message overall. His speech today is entitled Making Beer from a Kit. What this speech is about is basically being able to make beer at home by yourself, and I'm quite interested to hear more about this subject because I know Jeremy is very knowledgeable on it.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and our guest, Amy. Can you make macaroni and cheese out of the box? I know I have quite often, and I want to tell you about how you can make beer from a beer kit, which is actually not much harder than making macaroni and cheese out of macaroni and cheese out of the box. Many people make their own beer because they get a high quality product and there's minimal financial investment in that. There are also many variations you can make with your beer just due to all the control you have about making your beer. It's a simple process really about preparing a sugar and water mixture and spicing it with hops. Then you take the mixture and you ferment it, and then you carbonate it and bottle it. You can purchase many different kinds of kits at the supply store or through the internet. There's probably more availability on the internet for different types, but you can get quite a few at the store. The major beer component that you don't get in your beer kit is water. The brewer also needs equipment like a brew pot, a source of heat, a timer, a stirring spoon. Wort is what you're making. It's basically the sugar and water mixture, and when you spice it with hops. Arguably the most important step of making beer is cleaning and sanitizing. There's 2 methods to sanitizing your equipment. One is actually boiling whatever you're going to use. So when you make beer, you're actually boiling the wort, the sugar water, so that removes anything from the air or whatever. The other method is washing stuff in a sanitizing solution. You can get your sanitizing solution probably at the same place you bought your beer kit. Fun begins when you start boiling the water to produce the wort. While your water is heating up, you'll add one of 2 things generally. There is a liquid extract, and then there's also a powder. The liquid extract is very sweet, sticky, and viscous like honey. There's also the powder, which is another form of the sugar, and you must take care when you put the powder in there, because if you expose the powder to any humidity, it starts to clump. Once the wort is boiling, you'll set a timer usually for about an hour, and you'll add hops to spice the wort throughout the process. You add hops from what they call the 60-minute at the start, and you count down to 15 minutes, and when you add hops during that time, you're adding bitterness. Between 1 minute left and 15 minutes left, you're adding hops for flavor, and in the last minute, you're adding it for aroma. Once the pot is boiling, just remove that, sorry. The wort must be cooled as quickly as possible. And what you're trying to do there is keep contaminants like yeast that's just floating around in the air normally from taking hold in your wort, because what you're doing in reality is you're introducing a yeast of your own, and you want it to take over the whole fermentation process, because if you don't, your beer will probably taste pretty nasty. From there, you would pour your wort into a fermenting vessel that's been sanitized with solution, and you would seal it up airtight, put an air trap in, because during the fermentation process, the yeast produces carbon dioxide, and you want the carbon dioxide to be able to escape so your vessel doesn't explode. But you don't want anything to come back in and contaminate your beer. The last part is bottling and adding carbonation. There are two methods to adding carbonation. You can force carbonate by using a cylinder and putting pressure on top of your beer in a pressure vessel. This time you don't have a trap, and that will force bubbles in. Most people actually put sugar into their beer and then bottle it in bottles so that the yeast that's left in there will eat the sugar, produce more carbon dioxide, pressurize the bottle, and then the bubbles will force their way into the beer. So the enjoyment of brewing can come from consuming the beer or just creating the beer, just like eating and making macaroni and cheese. So to outline the basic steps of creating a beer from a kit, you gather the supplies, you mix the ingredients and boil the wort, you cool and then ferment the wort, and you carbonate and bottle the beer. I hope that I've been able to give you some appreciation for how beer is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
3 minutes? That was done in 3 minutes.
No, it was more than 3
Was it?
minutes. Yeah, it was 5.
All right, can we get, or I guess I can do that. We'll do 2 minutes to do an evaluation. Amy, there's a little sheet up there. You don't have to do it, but you can evaluate Jeremy's speech. We like to get feedback so we can improve. So you can just jot some notes of what you thought. We'll do that for 2 minutes. So how long have you been making beer?
I've been making beer for about 3 years.
3 years.
Usually it's kind of a bonding thing between my brother and my dad, and now we have my great uncle over there watching us make beer. It's a good excuse to drink beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I've considered getting into it.
I think we got into it for a total of I think it was under $100. We got everything we needed. You can actually go online and buy it pre-made in the box. They ship you everything you pretty much need.
At Horrocks up in Lansing, they have.
Do they?
I don't know how many they have left, but they must have got a whole truckload of beer kits because they were all over the place in their little beer section. I think it's like $30 or something for the kit.
Did you still, well, what they usually don't have is like a brew pot. So if you can find a big stainless brew pot, that's the key.
Yeah.
I think I've got a 5-gallon brew pot. We made one that's good for 10 gallons out of a keg. And then that's usually the expensive part right there.
Yeah.
But we buy a lot of stuff from a place out of Minnesota. It's called Northern Brewer. And they have everything you'd ever want. And the great thing about them is their shipping is $8 for everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
There's a place in Grand Ledge called the Red Salamander.
Oh, I know it. My dad stops there often.
Yeah. We bought some jugs there because we needed water jugs and had quite a bit of stuff.
Glass?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have like 3 1-gallon jugs. Interested in making hard cider because we're gluten free, so we can't. You can make sorghum beer, but
Pretty hard to make it without barley. I mean, we'll make gluten-free without barley then.
yeah, yeah,
Cause yeah, I've seen organic, but I don't think I've seen gluten-free.
yeah. Anheuser-Busch makes Red Bridge, and that's sorghum beer. It's pretty good. It tastes like regular beer.
The important part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have 2 contestants, maybe 3 for
3.
table topics. Oh, you were already considered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was.
Amy can participate if she
Once.
Table topics.
Table topics.
Oh, okay.
Shoot from the hip.
But I'm going to call on Bethany first.
Okay.
Okay. You decided that this weekend would be a good time to take down your Christmas lights.
Already?
You get out the old wooden ladder your grandpa gave you and lean it up against the house. Several hours later, you're almost done. Reaching for that last clip, you hear popping and cracking coming from the general direction of your feet. What is going through your head? Tell me, welcome back.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks, Jesse. I normally don't take my Christmas lights down until at least October. The problem with putting up, with taking down Christmas lights is you have to put them up first. So maybe next year I can work on that. But yeah, standing on the top of a ladder, taking down Christmas lights with popping and cracking going on. First, I'm glad it's not my back. Although, second, it quickly could be. So, either somehow somebody put up the non-coated wire Christmas lights again, and it's raining, and there's some electrical sparks going on, or my really old ladder is falling apart. So I'm going to be thinking about grabbing a hold of the eaves trough, hoping someone did a good job putting that up there. I got to think about all my training in school, the tuck and roll. That's important in case I do actually have to fall. One time I was successful in riding a ladder from the top of a house to the bottom of a house. I was putting up siding. I just kind of slid all the way down. And that seemed kind of fun, although dangerous. So maybe that sort of thing could happen again. But most likely, if there's snapping and popping going on at the bottom of my ladder, I would be thinking about what I had for lunch and whether or not it was enough to buckle my ladder.
I'll give you your time cards back.
Thank you. Yes.